overtalker. So what we're going to talk about is definitely what not to do, because there are some things not to do when we have an overtalker. And then we're going to talk about some strategies where we can minimize the overtalking before kind of addressing it and having a conversation. And then talk about, if we do have to have that conversation, how to do that in a way that shows care for them. So quick note at the beginning though, it is not the question of if you have an overtalker in your group, it is when, right? So if you have been in life groups for any length of time, you know that this thing is very, very common. And so it's not something to, freak out about, and don't be discouraged by that or surprised. It's very, very normal. But you can handle this. We're going to talk about how to handle it. So also, we need to kind of start thinking through our own role as a leader in the group. Kind of ask ourselves that self-evaluation question of, okay, what have I done anything that has maybe contributed to this? Have I been an overtalker myself and kind of set that example? Think about the culture that you've created in your group. Are you someone that is comfortable with silence? We talk about that in a lot of our trainings of just being okay with some silence, but if we are a little bit nervous about silence, we might let that overtalker jump in a lot. We've kind of, created this situation where we let them talk because we're just glad that someone is filling the silence, right? But also something to keep in mind, overtalking can come and go, right? So if you've had your group, you've been together for a bit and nobody's overtalking, things are going well, they're sharing the space. There might be seasons where someone just kind of gets into a habit of overtalking. Maybe they're going through something difficult. Maybe they just got very comfortable. Maybe they finally clicked with everyone, and now you're kind of seeing a new side of their personality. So these things can come and go. So what not to do. This is very, very important because if we address this the wrong way, we could really push them away, right? We could make them feel uncomfortable. They might even not come back to the group, which we don't want. So first off, we don't want to ignore it. This is not a problem that usually goes away if we do nothing, right? It's just going to keep happening and potentially even get worse. So we want to address this. And also there can be group members that leave because they just feel like, man, I just never get a chance to share or whatever that is. So we want to make sure that we do address this, but we don't want to embarrass them. We don't want to use humor, right? So don't, crack jokes like, oh, so-and-so's just our chatty one, right? Don't put them on the spot or put them down because humor usually isn't going to correct that behavior. And then also, we don't want to have a one-on-one conversation about this and address it before we try some of these other strategies that we're going to talk about because usually, if you try some of these other things, they can kind of catch on before you have to have like a pointed conversation where they might feel a little bit self-conscious. So try and do these other things first that we're going to talk about. Then you want to keep in mind, like, when do they join the group? Are they brand new and they're just really excited that maybe they've never been in a life group before, and so they just think this is what it's all about, and they haven't really learned yet kind of how to be a good group member. So don't address it too soon if there's someone that is brand new to your group, because again, you don't want to push them away. Okay, so some strategies we can start with, again, before we address this in a conversation with them. This is something we should be doing anyways, but just regularly going over our life group guidelines so that they hear these reminders a lot. So this is for everybody in group to hear these, but you can really kind of harp on some of them if you have some of these issues. So really talking about let everyone have a chance to share, listen well, like really elaborate on those when you go over it so that hopefully they kind of have those reminders and catch on like, oh, maybe I haven't been doing that. And that will kind of help them. And then maybe immediately after you ask a question, maybe you have someone in mind, maybe you say, hey, Adam, I wonder what you would think about this. Or, hey, as we talk about this, hey, I want to get your opinion on this, so that it's someone else maybe who doesn't talk a lot, have them ready to give their answer. Not to put them on the spot, give them maybe a less deep question, but just something that kind of gets them the opportunity to share. They don't usually get to. And then just some nonverbal cues. These are things, that are common in like the teaching world, if any of you guys are educators, but sitting near them, maybe even just like putting a hand on their shoulder. If they're going on and on and on, you just kind of put a hand on their shoulder and try and jump in when you can. They'll usually kind of catch on to that. Using a hand motion, just like, yeah, like, something that's kind of telling them like, yeah, that's really good. Let's move on. Let's wrap it up. Can be kind of a nonverbal cue. So then here are some verbal cues that you can use. So there's kind of two different types of over-talkers usually, right? There's off-topic and on-topic. So if someone is off-topic, like they're just going down a rabbit trail and you've just lost the plot of the group. So saying things like, all right, yeah, let's get back on topic. Let's bring it back to the scripture. Let's get back to that question. Hey, I don't know if we fully answered this question. Could someone else jump in? Maybe though they're on topic, they're just very long-winded, right? I think that's usually what happens when it comes to over-talking is they're just going and going and you just need them to kind of wrap it up. So saying those things like, yeah, that's great. Like, let's hear from some other people. Who have we not heard from today? I don't think we've heard from everyone. I don't think we've heard from so-and-so. Just kind of using those verbal cues. And then this is something to consider too as you think about, as you're getting to know people in your group, as you get to know your over-talker, it's possible that they just don't have an outlet to be heard, that maybe this is the only place in their life where they're getting to share these things that they're going through. So just giving them that other opportunity. Maybe that's reaching out with a phone call, checking in, maybe that's scheduling a coffee, getting lunch with them, letting them kind of get these things off their chest outside of group so that when you get to group, they kind of feel like, okay, I've already had a chance to kind of unload all of these things. And then also just prayer, praying for wisdom about getting to the root of maybe why they might be oversharing. Maybe they are going through something really difficult and you don't want to, minimize that. You don't want them to not be able to share and, unpack all of these things, but maybe they do need some extra care. Maybe they need to, reach out about pastoral counseling. Maybe that's something that would help them be able to work through some of these things that they're sharing about. And then something else to keep in mind, if you have an over-talker that is a more black and white concrete thinker, maybe even someone, with neurodivergence, you want to think about being very, very specific. Because if we just say talk less, that means something totally different to different people, right? Talk less is not measurable. So if you have someone who's more a black and white thinker, try and use something measurable. So saying, hey, as a group, we just want to remember, like, we're going to keep our responses to about 2 minutes or less. That way, we have limited time. We want to make sure everyone gets a chance to share. Or giving a time that if there's someone who's always jumping in, saying, hey, let's all just kind of wait a few seconds. Or even telling them, can you just wait maybe 5 seconds before you jump in and answer? That'll give other people a chance to think about what they want to say. So giving them something measurable so it's something that they can remember. So then if we've tried all of these things, right, we've tried all the verbal cues, nonverbal cues, this is still not working, it's still an issue, so maybe we do need to have a conversation with them. So when we do that, find a chance to meet with them one-on-one, obviously not, probably not before or after group, just might not be a great time just because, other folks might be around. So find a time to get with them, again, for maybe coffee or lunch or something. And always, again, just praying for wisdom. And we want to make sure that we're leading with love, right? We want to make sure they feel very cared for at the end of this conversation. So when you meet, I would encourage you, don't just dive in with, hey, I wanted to meet because I want to talk about this issue or this thing. Don't do that, right? Just check in with them. Just have a normal, just relational meeting with them where you're asking them, how are you doing? What's going on in life? Make sure this is not the only thing that you're chatting about. Share what you value about what they bring to the group. Obviously, we want to make sure that they know, like, hey, we want you in our group, right? We love having you. Like, we want to make sure they know that they're a valuable member of the group. So as you do that, though, we also need to be clear about wanting them to talk less, right? And others to talk more. So we'll talk about that in a minute about some ways we can do that. So as we do this too, just making sure that we're keeping this conversation light and casual. We don't want this to feel confrontational. It's not a huge deal, right? We don't want them to walk away just feeling like embarrassed, feeling discouraged. Like, we want to make sure that they know, like, hey, this is not something that needs to be, blown out of proportion. So here are kind of some examples, just kind of phrases that you can say for some different scenarios. So if you have a long-winded friend, right? If someone in your group just, again, when it's their turn to speak, they're just going on and on and on, just taking a long time saying something, again, we're both encouraging them, but being clear about what we need from them. So saying, hey, you set such a great example in our group of being vulnerable. Like, you're always willing to share. We love that. I want to make sure that other people in our group, that they have the chance to do that too. I want other people to be able to, you know, be vulnerable the way you are. So can you help me make sure that we save that time, save some time for other people, because you set that great example. We want to make sure other people can do that as well. And then maybe you have someone who just like always jump in. Like, you ask a question, they're the first one to answer every single time, right? So saying something like, yeah, you're so sharp, you're quick to jump in every time. I love that. But we have some people in our group that they're a little more shy, they're maybe more reserved, or maybe they just need to think through what it is that they want to say. So it'd be super helpful if, you know, when I ask a question or someone else asks a question, just pause for a minute, just kind of give some space, let some other people think about their answer, let them jump in before you jump in. And that'll kind of, you know, help everyone else have a chance to speak. So yeah, those are kind of some examples. If you want, we'll be able to send this out too if you want to think about ways you could put this, you know, in your own words. But we're going to take some time to discuss this, and you're also going to have a chance to kind of practice this as well and some role play with it. So go ahead and get back into your groups, and we'll do a discussion about this.